everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm North Carolina Hmong Women Association for our Paving Pathways webinar in collaboration with PABNEEG. So for our agenda today, we're going to go through our welcoming introduction to our speaker. Then we're going to dive right into our interview questions and answers, and then we're going to close out afterwards. So the purpose of our Paving Pathways webinar is to expose Hmong students in our community to different career opportunities and enrich them by providing valuable resources. Our objectives of this webinar is to identify and address gaps within the community regarding education, health, other social determinants, and again, just to expose our Hmong students and community to different career opportunities that are out there, and enrich our community by providing them valuable information and resources.
Thank you to Brittany for sharing some background information about our webinar series. The subset of our webinars is actually focused on mental health professionals, and it is in collaboration with a nonprofit called PABNEEG from Colorado. They reached out to us so that we can partner with them and create a subset of webinars focused on mental health professionals, sharing their experiences and journey with our community. And during this series, we also want to highlight an event that they will be hosting called Hmong Women Lead Pioneering Mental Health Equity for Hmong Women. It is going to be a 2-day summit from June 8th through the 9th, and it's going to be at the University of Denver, Colorado, and it is a free event for all attendees. Through this event, they really want to explore individuals' mental well-being and their journeys, and really create a safe environment for everyone to come together, share their stories, help each other heal, and learn from various experts in the community, learn specific skills that they can use to combat their mental health challenges. And so here on the slide, we do have the link available for you to access and sign up for the event. With that being said, I'm happy to introduce our speaker for today. We have Melissa Lee, and she is certified in mental health first aid. She has a background in human resources. That has been the majority of her career, and that was where she first learned of a first aid mental health certification. It has been a really vital part of her professional development and her personal life as well. It's given her the opportunity to help others in her career and also in her community. And she believes that it's a stepping stone in many directions and aspects of life. And she's truly grateful for it. So I will pause for a minute and let Melissa just introduce herself.
Hi guys, I'm Melissa Lee.
Thank you for being here with us today, Melissa.
Thank you for having me.
Let me move on to our questions. We typically split our questions into different categories: background questions, education experience questions, Hmong identity questions, and closing questions. So hopping right into our first question, Melissa, can you tell us about your current job and provide a snapshot of your educational and professional journey?
Yes, so my current occupation is handling the human resources department for an agency that my husband and I run together. My education and professional journey has always been in human resources for as long as I can remember. I just love being that point of contact for employees and being able to help them get the information that they need. And alongside that, I am also a stay-at-home mom to my 2 sons and fulfilling my role as a mother to them.
Thank you for allowing us to learn a little bit more about you. Here is our next question. How did you learn about the opportunity to become mental health first aid certified?
Yes, so the opportunity came from a previous employer who actually wanted the whole HR department to be certified so that we could recognize certain signs in employees when they're like distressed or when you just think that they need professional help, because they do come to us whenever they have a need for, their health or whatever they needed for their, paychecks or whatever it is. You can just kind of see what the signs are and kind of recognize that and then get them the help that they need.
I love that your employer was open to having their human
Yes.
resources specialists give them the opportunity.
Mhm.
So did they set up the actual like certification classes for you all?
Yes, we actually went to it was a local, site
Mhm.
from yeah, like a hospital, they were actually doing it because 'cause I've never heard of it before, and then she's like, "Oh, we're gonna get certified for this," and I'm like, "I'm totally on board," I
Yeah.
think that's great that we're taking a step towards trying to understand people instead of just kinda sticking to the, "Okay, they're crazy, let's stay away," instead of just, "Hey, what can we do to help you?" And be that point of contact as well, not just for HR needs, but for their personal development as well too.
That's amazing. Let me move on to our next question. So, what was the driving force for your decision to become mental health first aid certified?
Yes, besides it becoming being optional at my previous employer, it was something that I've always been interested in, and through that certification class, I was able to gain a lot of insight and knowledge that I don't think I would have been able to do even on a personal level. You go online, do a lot of research, you have your own take on mental health, but this certification really put into perspective that mental health is not just a one shot and done, but it's just so broad and the spectrum is just so large that like a lot of people are affected by it, not just one condition, but so many conditions. And so that's not just the driving force from the beginning, but ongoing driving force of, okay, what else can I learn? How else can I help? And what else can I do to, move forward with this mental health movement?
I love that. And Letha, a little background. Melissa was one of our first guest speakers for our
Mhm.
webinar, our first like mental health webinars. And she was the one that really introduced us to like what is like mental health first aid and being certified in it. And that definitely inspired like us in our organization to find out more about it. And thus a few of us did also get certified and
Yay!
I know. So thank you for that, for, coming here and explaining more about it.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. You are a pioneer, Melissa, in this aspect
Thank
because
you.
I myself have never heard of being mental health first aid certified either. I think it's a great opportunity for those like in our community who feel like they're everyday people to become certified so that they can recognize signs and symptoms
Mhm.
and understand how to help an individual when they are facing some of these challenges.
That's so good to hear. Like I said, it just takes one driving force, for one person to just go and then everybody just followed like the movement. And I think that's amazing that you guys took that initiative, even though you guys didn't have to, but that you guys took that initiative to also learn a lot. I'm sure that was a big, all in one like woof of information that, we just really have a general idea of not even knowing like the depth of it, but just getting like the surface level and then being able to do, like more with that and then learning upon with that certification.
Definitely. Our next question here is for those who are not aware, can you describe what mental health first aid is?
Yes, for those who are new to the term of first aid in mental health, it's a fairly new term in the last couple of years, but it's kind of like CPR but for mental health. So, you are the first point of contact to offer them help before getting them to the professionals. So, just like in CPR, they teach you how to do the Heimlich maneuver or mouth to mouth, and then you later transfer them over to either the paramedic or the doctor to finish up the treatment, or whatever it was, if they're choking or if it was any other issues, you always transfer them over to the professional. So, in the aspect of mental health, you were that first person for support and empathy to help them, and then you get them to the professional to get the professional help that they truly need.
Thank you for explaining it in that way. I think that makes perfect sense. CPR for those
Mhm.
because like the condition here is a mental health crisis. CPR and other aspects, like in the health aspects, maybe for different reasons, but I love that analogy.
Yes, echoing Lisa, thank you for that amazing description of that. I was racing to go to my unmute button.
Okay, so our next question here is do you feel like mental health first aid training can be for everyone?
um, you know, let me just put it in this way that anyone can get the certification, right? You just have to attend the class. But I don't think that it's for everyone. I can say that if you have a heart to genuinely help people with this movement and you want to really get people to the right place, then this would be great. But if you just want like another certification to hang on your wall, then it's not going to really be useful for you or for anyone. And I take this certification very, very seriously. I feel like this is not something that, to be that it's just to be taken lightly. Like if you have the certification, people come to you as in, okay, you are the first point of contact. Can I trust you? I need to trust you. I need to be able to open up to you. And not a lot of people have that approach, or maybe they don't want that approach, or, and if you just, like I said, if you just don't have the heart to help people, then it's just going to be another piece of paper, like on a wall, or another certification added on to your list of, education. So it's definitely more than just a training. It's like a lifelong journey, and not a one-time thing at all.
Thank you for answering that. With such an open, honest heart. Because yeah, definitely, like having that certification, like you do make like a vow, to pretty much, fulfill like your duties with your
Yes.
mental first aid, mental health first aid training, because you do have an obligation once you become certified, to point people in the right direction of where they need to go.
Yes.
Can you also explain like what the recertification process is and timing for that?
With this certification, it lasts like 3 years. Like the expiration is every 3 years, and so you pretty much just kind of go through the same classes that you would, just with maybe newer, what things have changed in the last 3 years. If there's any updates, they update you on that, or they give you more instances on, like, okay, you've been certified for 3 years now, so what have you learned, or here's our new cases that we've noticed, new signs, that are coming, because there's always research being done and there's always new things coming out. So you're just learning the new things, and the teachers are amazing at being able to bring real life situations so that we can relate, like, oh, this is what really happened to somebody, and this is how it was dealt, or this is the outcome of that. So the recertification process is also extensive but really informative, because you're not just a beginner anymore, but you've been in the game for a while, so now you're almost like experienced. And so they treat you as if you're experienced, instead of just like a, hey, here we are back at it doing the same thing all over again.
Thank you for sharing a little bit more about the recertification process for everyone. Our next question here is, how has the decision to become mental health first aid certified impacted your professional and personal life?
So mental health first aid has completely changed my professional and my personal life. It's given me the credentials and the confidence that I need to help people who are in a mental crisis. And I'm just so glad that this is something that they've offered, not just to, like professionals like in the mental health, but for anybody, because it's like we need more people to be available, because when you're trying to get to like a therapist or trying to talk to a licensed professional, it's harder to get in, and you have to wait weeks, but really you need to talk to somebody right then and there. And so having this certification, being open and being available for people, instead of having to wait, okay, oh, I'll see you next month, it's like every once a month, it's like now I have access to somebody that I can talk to about these things, and I'm truly a changed person because of it. And I'm so grateful, because it's taught me so much, even about myself. I feel like it's taught me a lot, like, oh, now I can recognize also these signs in myself, or in my children or in my spouse. So it's not just, it's like more internal now, and you can see the signs and you can read them early on, rather than, like waiting and just waiting for them to come to you. You can actually go to them and say, are you okay? And you can recognize those signs.
Yeah, I think you brought up a very important point that mental health crisis, mental health challenges can occur at any time. And if we have more individuals in our community who can recognize the signs and symptoms, like you said, they can potentially get treatment that they need faster, and get pointed in the right direction. So that is a really good point. Now that you have been certified for a few years, can you share any stories where you utilize the skills and knowledge that you gained during the mental health first aid training and positively impacted the outcome for someone?
Yes, absolutely. I think I've used this certification more in my personal life rather than my professional. But I've come across a lot of people from different walks of life, but the one that really sticks out to me the most is that a close friend of mine came to me about a sexual assault that had happened to her 4 years ago, and she didn't know who to turn to all those years. And so she held a lot of it in, and she became very angry, and she didn't know why. And she finally reached out to me, and I just allowed her to just unload it all onto me. And I just listened to her and just let her know that she was heard and that her experience was validated. And then we talked for 3 to 4 hours. And, after that, she wrote me and she said, I finally feel all the weight on me, like finally lift off. Sometimes you just need to tell somebody because it's almost like a secret, right? Like a secret that it's almost like embarrassing and then you're ashamed of. But when you finally get that out, it's like that weight is finally gone and you can finally share it with somebody that you trust and someone who's not going to judge you and someone just there to just validate like everything that you're feeling. And yeah, so we talk on the regular now, and we share a lot of stories and I check up on her all the time. And so it's been a big blessing that the certification has really allowed people to come to me. Not that they wouldn't come to me before, but now they have all the more reason to, because they know that, okay, she understands like on this level of mental health, and I can trust her and I can talk to her and be open to her about it without having to worry that it's going to go outside like the four walls.
I think that story really emphasizes one of the key takeaways from the training, which was to listen non-judgmentally. And I think that was a perfect example that you share of how listening judgmentally can make a positive impact on someone.
Yes, absolutely. That's just all they need is an ear sometimes. Like you don't even have to say anything, just say, I hear you, like what you went through was validated. And that's it. Like you don't have to go on and lecture them, or you don't have to go on and, just pour everything onto them, but just allow them to unload it onto you. Cause it's like it's easier to carry like two people to carry the load rather than just one person just carrying it all together. So
Yes, I definitely agree. Thank you for sharing that story.
Our next question here is, how has your comfort level with asking difficult mental health questions evolved over time?
yes. So I've been certified since 2018, and I can say that I've learned a lot. I've learned what to say and what not to say. And I'm very comfortable with approaching somebody now, as before, I was a little bit skeptical. But now, if I see that someone is dealing with some mental anguish, I'm able to use, like to approach them and ask them. And I've learned the vocabulary that comes off as more genuine rather than direct. And I don't ask, like, hey, are you, like, what people say, are you suicidal? Because sometimes it makes them feel embarrassed or they're taken off guard. And then to avoid the situation, they just say no. And that's the end of that. So instead of that, I just approach it in a softer tone as, how are you healing? How are you, dealing with your stress or your struggles? And is there anything I can do to help you? These approaches have helped me a lot as they're less judgmental and they're more genuine and caring for the person rather than just getting to the point. It's all about building that relationship and being that safe place for that person. Because if you're just there to say, okay, now go see a therapist, like it's not as useful, or it's there's no relationship there. It's like, okay, I need to have a relationship with you so I can trust you, and building that trust and that relationship over time. Sometimes it's not a one-off or where you can say, okay, well, now it's time to go see the therapist, but it's like, okay, hey, how can I help you during this time? Or share maybe my therapist, or just share with each other like the struggles of everyday life. And yeah, so I've learned to be less direct, more genuine, and come at it with a softer tone. And I feel like that's more accepted rather than just, hey, are you gonna, like, are you struggling? Are you stressed? Like, what's going, And so it's more of a genuine approach.
I agree that, tone has a lot to do with how your conversation sort of like gets guided and how to navigate it. I think definitely coming with it with a more gentle tone helps a
Mhm.
lot.
Yes.
Yeah, and like you said, it's definitely something that takes practice and takes
Mhm.
time. You learn with each conversation that you have with someone. So I
Mhm.
think it's important for you to, if you were to say something that probably you didn't get received the way that you wanted to, use
Mhm.
that as an opportunity to learn from that. Like
Yes.
for the next time, how can I word this in a different way so that it can be received in the way that I intend it to be?
Yes.
Our next question here is related to the Hmong identity questions. Do you think it is important for Hmong Americans to start getting mental health first aid certified, and why?
Yes, I think that it's more important now than ever for the Hmong communities, not just here, but all over the world to get this certification because it's going to make such a huge impact. There's always a language barrier, and and the mental health first aid certification is that bridge to that gap that I believe. We can start recognizing these signs in our families and our friends and get them the help that they need rather than just wait until it's too late. I think a lot of times we just kind of wait for people to come to us instead of us approaching them, and then something happens and then we're like, what happened or what went wrong. And having the certification, like I said, we can recognize it in a friends, family, relatives, and say, are you okay? And hopefully that they would be open enough to share with you that, they're struggling, or that, maybe they're fine. They're just having a bad day.
Something I thought of as you were explaining your answer to this question is our like elderly Hmong population. They are so resilient with their prior experiences. They've just gone through so
Mhm.
much. And I think a lot
Yes.
of times when it comes to like their feelings or their emotions, they can kind of push it off and
Yes.
suppress it. And over time, that comes out in ways that may not be healthy. And
Yes.
so if we have more Hmong Americans that do
Mhm.
understand like the English language and can
Mhm.
bridge the gap, that would be amazing for everyone.
Absolutely.
Our next question is, what are your hopes for the Hmong community as they are becoming more aware of the importance of mental health first aid training?
My hope for the Hmong community is that as mental health is being more made aware of, that we start healing from our trauma instead of passing it down generations. We hear about the generational trauma. And, when we start healing, we pass down healing. We don't pass down trauma. And then it's no longer like a traumatic cycle, but rather a healing one. And when you heal, your children see you healing. And that's healthy, right? But, to be angry all the time, or why is my mom angry, why are my parents angry, and all that stuff. That's the unhealthy stuff. Or when they start verbally or physically abusing you, that's the stuff that we don't want to pass down, right? The generational trauma, where our generations, like, it kind of ends here. We're not going to pass this on to our children, and we don't deserve that, and they don't deserve that, our parents don't deserve that. So I think that if we become more aware, and that when this certification starts being broadcasted and people start taking advantage of it, I think that we will be able to stop that generational trauma from being passed down. So, like I said, we'll pass down healing, and I'm all for about passing down healing.
I love that. I love that wording, passing down healing. It's beautiful.
Our next question is, as a Hmong American woman, what does having the certification mean to you?
This certification, as you guys can tell, has like been everything to me, and like I said, made me want to pursue more education into mental health. And it gives me the courage and the strength to advocate for those who cannot or do not know how to support themselves during mental crisis. A lot of times we just hold it in, or we don't know how to deal with mental crisis. We just kind of just deal with it, and just be done with it. But I think that um, being able to advocate for those and say, hey, like, what you're going through, like, it's okay, let's get you help. Let's get through this together. And you're not alone in how you feel, and everything that we feel is all human, right? It's all about part of being human. Our emotions are all part of being human, and making sure that we're real. We're not robots, right? We're not supposed to be programmed to not feel anything. Feeling is good. Emotions, having emotions is good, and being able to do that. But being able to like put it out in a healthy way, I think, is a better way, rather than just kind of suppressing it. Because when we suppress it, nothing gets done, and it really affects your day to day life. It affects who you are. You can't become the best version of yourself with like this cloud hanging over your head. So it's really, like I said, giving me the strength and the courage to advocate for those who most of the time don't know how to support themselves during this time.
The next question here is leading into our closing questions. What advice do you have for individuals who do not work directly with mental health, but have an interest in it and want to make a difference?
Yes. So my advice is to come with an open mind because you're going to meet a lot of different people with a lot of different needs. It's not a one fit all kind of solution for, everybody. Like I said, if you have the heart to help people, you will already make a difference. A lot of times people don't want to help others or they just want to help themselves. And when you have that heart to help people, you're already making a difference. And so that's definitely the best place to start. And once you start there, I think that you will bloom into like the best version of yourself.
So we're also curious to know how you prioritize your own mental health.
Yes, absolutely. My favorite question. So I take my own advice, right? So I have my own therapist. I seek professional help when I know that I need it because that I know that I can't do this alone. I do need professional help. Like we said in our in the last seminar with with you guys, I said that when your arm gets cut off, you go to the hospital. You don't say, "Oh no, I'm good. I'll just patch it up." And so it's like I know that something's not right with me internally, mentally, and so I have to go seek help. And having my own therapist has definitely been so life changing. I don't think I've ever felt so validated in my life. And sometimes talking to a stranger is better than talking to a spouse. Maybe you're not comfortable, or a friend. And so that's why we always direct them to go see a professional, because sometimes it's easier to just tell somebody who has no relation to anybody, so they can't gossip in the community. And besides that, I also have regular outing with friends, and I have intentional conversations and intentional friendships. It's not just going out and saying, "Hey, how are you doing?" but being more intentional in what I do and how I live. And another a healing of mine is I journal a lot of things. I tell my spouse a lot, but there are just some things that only I can understand, and I journal that. And it's amazing to see when you go back and you read your journal, to see how far you've come. You're like, wow, this is amazing. And I also exercise as well, because we got to get all that energy out, and just making sure that I make time for myself, because yes, I am a wife, yes, I am a mother, but at the end of the day, I'm still just me, right? I'm still Melissa at the end of the day. And if I can't forget to take care of myself, because if I do, then I'm not going to be able to take care of other people, or not to the best of my ability. And when I take care of myself, I will be at my best version to take care of those that I love.
Thank you for sharing some of the ways in which you prioritize your mental health. I love that. And that can serve as examples for others to consider as well. Throughout life, you can always explore different avenues to find different outlets. And so this is a good opportunity for others to potentially pick up journaling if you're not
Yes.
journaling. Consider it,
I love
try it.
journaling.
Yeah, see if it works for you. Next question here is, what advice do you have for Hmong girls and women? It can be related to mental health or just general advice.
Yes. So my advice to all Hmong girls and women are that we are so resilient, so strong, and capable of anything. And don't allow the boundaries of tradition and culture to define you and your success. Like, we got this. We've come up from a lot. I feel like a decade that's passed wasn't the same than it is today. We have freedom and more ways to express ourselves and to find our own success. And so I feel like that's great, that's beautiful, that we're not being bound to what like I said, our cultures and our tradition have defined us. We're not letting that define us, but yet we're letting ourselves define ourselves, and I think that's absolutely beautiful.
I definitely agree. We are so like resilient and just like have been for like centuries. And, for you to point out that, it's okay to like own like who we are and what
Mhm.
we stand for. It is so strong.
Yes, we give birth to children, so I mean that just says a lot. There's
You're
a
right.
reason women give birth and not men, so
You are right.
That is so funny. I think that as we move through the generations, like first generation, second generation Hmong American women and girls, we start challenging some of these barriers that are placed upon us.
yes.
And
Mhm.
we start having more leaders that are
Yes.
like paving the path for us, like
Mhm.
leaders such as
Absolutely.
you, Melissa, paving the path in the mental health realm, showcasing mental health first aid, and then it just empowers everybody. So it's like a
Absolutely.
snowball effect for sure.
Yes.
I believe this is our last question we have for you. It's just a fun question. If you could have any superhero power, what would it be and why? How would you use that superhero power?
There's so many, but the one that I would definitely pick would be just off like teleporting. I feel like traveling takes so much time and time is so precious to me, and I would use that superpower to see family and friends and, not waste that time traveling. We used to drive to go see my parents, took like 20 hours, and it's like, dude, I could just do this and then be there, and those 20 hours would be saved. So definitely teleporting. I like being invisible too, but that's kind of creepy. So I'm gonna go with teleporting.
I like the teleportation. I like the point of
Yes,
like that instant travel because you are
yes,
right. Traveling it takes a lot of time and energy.
yes.
I think we alluded to this during our conversation, but I want to serve a space for it and make our listeners aware that we do have these 5 individuals within the North Carolina Hmong Women Association that have become mental health first aid certified. And so if you are facing mental challenges, please feel free to reach out to any one of us. We are here to be an open listening ear and to listen non-judgmentally. And so moving towards our closing, we just want to thank you, Melissa, for being here. Also, thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Here on the slide, we have Melissa's email. You can reach out to her if you have any additional questions. We also have linked the North Carolina Hmong Women's Association website and Facebook to follow and keep updated with our events. Here on the right side of our slide, we also have the flyer for the 2-day summit in Colorado. Once again, it is a free event. It will be held on June 8th and 9th at the University of Denver. And with that, I'll just pause for a second and let Brittany and Melissa say their final words and goodbyes.
Yes, thank you guys so much for, like you guys are pioneers as well too, paving the path and starting this whole organization. I think that's so beautiful that you guys have saw a need and not instead of just, ignoring it, you guys fulfill that role. And so I'm sure North Carolina is very grateful for you guys. I know I'm grateful for you guys. I met Brittany through this. And so it's been amazing. And you guys are just so great at what you guys do. And I can see why they would definitely have you guys over there at this conference because you guys have done amazing work. So I follow you guys on Facebook, so I'm watching your every move and rooting for you guys. So just continue doing what you're doing, and we're here supporting you.
Oh, thank you so much, Melissa. And you yourself are amazing as well. And it is so good to know that, we have like Hmong people in Florida and we have you that, Hmong people can go to locally as well if they ever need a resource. So just thank you again, everybody, for tuning in and have a great night.